What's he doing? Let me see. Let me find him.
I'll get
Barry?
I think it's the Levisons, so if they show up, good. If they don't.
I don't know. He may be indisposed, but I know he's joining us, and I know Barbara Gardner and Eleanor will be on. And I think Barbara was trying to reach her sisters. Did you talk to Norman?
Yeah, he was there last night. He popped in.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. He might come back. You never know. You never know.
So I did watch the funeral in the pouring rain. Oh my goodness.
And the rainbow showed up. That was
Hi, Karen. Hi. How are you?
We're okay.
I know.
We
It's
missed
so,
you.
well, we missed you too, but we won't miss you for long because you're gonna come down.
Yes. And we've been looking at pictures of you today. You
From?
at different family events.
Well, I sent you the, what?
You haven't changed a bit.
Oh, right.
Right.
Sure. That's from several thousand miles through a television screen. Perfect. Other than that, I watched you mostly through the funeral. I was looking at the back of your head.
Oh, I know.
So,
Unfortunately, I stood in front of the screen when the rain came and I didn't realize it.
well, you can't help that. You were seated where you were seated. Here's Barry. Razel she said she has your words in her head.
What words?
I have your voice in my ear, Barry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Saying what?
I was up visiting you in the Berkshires.
Oh, yeah. When you came up there with Mom. Right.
Yeah. And we went out to dinner and I said, okay, how about if we split dinner? And you said,
it's not your turn.
No, I've got this. I've got this. And I said, well, how do you know you've got this? I said, when do you know when you have to pick up the tab? He says, oh, you'll know when it's your turn to pick up the tab.
That's what my father told me.
You'll know.
So I went to lunch with my father and my uncle, and I tried to pick up a check. My father said, no, it's not your turn. I said, well, how do I know when it's my turn? He says, it will be obvious.
So your voice has been in my ear.
Oh, yeah.
It's obvious now.
I think they and Natalie famously gave Daniel Gluck and Eli a speech about that too.
Really?
Oh,
what was that speech?
They wouldn't let them treat, but they thought that they should at least offer.
I say, okay, that's good.
That's interesting.
That's good.
That
offer. You know, they were in their mid-20s or something. It was
sure.
Yeah, it was hard.
Sure.
It was hard to get a check past your father. I can tell you that.
Right. Well, I mean, get a payment bill.
for a dinner or whatever. Yeah, he was strong in that area. A good model.
I just want to welcome, this is the family half hour here, and I just want to make sure everybody knows everybody here. So Sheila and Barry are zooming in from Florida, and they're cousins actually on Daddy's side, Daddy's first.
Here are people.
And I see the Atlanta Robinsons are lining up in formation there. And Andy Levison is here, and Michael Levison, nieces and nephews. And Carrie's here too, that's good. And Eleanor and Leonard, how are you? They're also cousins on Daddy's side. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, on Daddy's side.
Cindy Kaplan is coming in from Houston, also on Daddy's side. Come on down, Cindy Kaplan.
Who is that?
That is Cindy Kaplan. She is, let's see, her mother Shirley and Daddy were first cousins. So this is the family half hour. And Barbara Gardner's about to join us.
I see
She's also-
Barbara.
Yeah. And mom and I would meet Eleanor and Barbara and Sheila in Florida every year. The cousins group, we would have a reunion every year, so that they're here. And mom helped keep that tradition alive, I have to say.
I hope
And-
so.
Yeah. So hey Jay, you want to say, are you ready to say hello yet? Not yet. We'll get him online in a minute.
There he is.
Well, by asking Eli what he's eating for supper and Asher. It looks pretty good, whatever it is.
Mac and cheese.
Eli?
Homemade mac and cheese.
Homemade mac and cheese. Eli, you're getting some votes from some of my rabbi friends who were on last night for most interesting Shiva speech to date.
Can he send it, Randy, can he send it, will you email that to us?
Mine or Eli's?
Oh, did you speak last night too? We heard you were fabulous at your mother.
Eli spoke last night.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Get a
see that.
copy of that?
We have it on video, and the Tontonese portion is on Facebook. The funeral is actually on Facebook, so we can send.
No,
a link
I was at
to
the
it.
funeral. I was at the
Okay.
funeral. Okay.
Yeah, we can do a link to the video for last night.
From last night?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would like to see that too.
Okay. And I can send you, they're just rough notes, but I could send you that if you want. Alexia
Well,
Poe
yours is on the funeral site.
yes, mine is on the. Alexia Poe, otherwise known to her family as Shuli, is in the room. Shuli is Gilbert's daughter. So another
I
neat-
think I've met Shuli. I'm
yeah,
Sheila.
That's Sheila. This is the family half hour here before we let the herd. So if anybody wants to unmute and say something here, before we start a service, then by all means, jump in.
I think we need Jarvin. Send him the email link again. Michael, did you? You seem to have had it. I don't know if he got it yet or not.
There's Eli.
He does, but I'm gonna call him in a minute. And
Yeah, he specifically, he said he lost it, so I sent it to him, but I don't.
I sent it to him again too.
Mhm.
Well, there's Hallel, but she's not moving. She's frozen.
Well,
Lily, can you check in? Just say
I'm
hello?
here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just pop your face in for a minute.
I can pop my face in. I'm actually in the car about to get home.
All right, so we'll wait. We can wait on you.
well, I remember when Razel and Natalie came to visit us in the Berkshires.
Oh,
We went
my
out to dinner.
goodness.
We went to I think we went to some concert. We get home at, I don't know, what, 11 o'clock at night. Everybody's falling off their feet except your mom.
Right.
And she
who's
was
rolling around.
rolling around until after midnight with energy galore. This is 10 years ago. It was amazing. And so that's one memory. The other is, how she dealt with Dad's disability, with the wheelchair in the back of the car and everything. She could handle that better than a truck driver.
Yeah, but Barry forgot to mention that while they were staying in our lower level, they discovered that the water was coming out of our
Hose.
hose in the
Yeah, we-
mechanical room, and the downstairs floor was getting wet. And your
Flooded.
mother was telling us, "You got to do something about this."
Yeah, she made the I think she made the
She
diagnosis
did.
of
She
the
made the diagnosis
the hose popped out of the
out
out
of
of
the
the slot.
shield it was supposed to
You're
go.
not
in.
supposed to run your dishwasher at 1:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning,
Well, we taped the thing in, and
As
it
we
never
learned-
happened
as we
again.
learned at that time.
Well, my first memory of Natalie was as a 15-year-old when I came to Knoxville. And everybody was engineering dates with the Jewish boys in the community for this girl from New York who, was certainly a novelty. And then went to the shop and Ella found something, I can't remember what it was, that I was found for me to be appropriately dressed in Knoxville.
Well,
Yeah, so I have, wonderful memories of those summer visits and certainly our reunions here in Florida. And I hope that those of us who are in and out of Florida now will get together so that we don't lose that connection.
but when we can get together,
It's soon. We got vaccination dates now for January, so I'm feeling very optimistic.
so we'll see you
That's great.
after that.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, we got our vaccines. Well, you did too, didn't you? Barbara. Hi, Mark.
So,
Right.
My condolences.
Okay, sorry. Now you can talk. You were muted.
Jarvin, you might want to turn your phone. You look like you're climbing up the wall sideways.
Let's see.
that's Uncle Jarvin over there. Figure it out, though.
I don't see him.
Mark and Barbara, they're coming in from California. Again, these are,
I don't see. Oh, here's Jarvin.
who was Daddy's first cousin, Barbara's fake daughter. So they're here too.
And I loved getting together with the cousins for lunches and loved seeing Natalie. And it's interesting that I'm wearing pink and she's wearing pink, but she always noticed what I was wearing, and it was never up to snuff. It was always like, it was like, Natalie, I'm just having lunch. If I go to work, I promise you I dress a little bit nicer, but she always would look and say, well, you're a grown, or the look would say, you're a grown up now. You need to kick it up a notch. So
Yes.
very fondly, like in a good way.
Okay. Uncle Jarvin, now we can see you. That's good. So we have some Levisons in the house here. Would they like to check in and say hello and just, if you want to say a memory, if you want to just say hello, that's okay too.
You can say hello.
You're gonna say hello. We're going to hear from you later, correct?
Hear from me.
Yeah. You're going to talk a little bit tonight later.
Like playing with me under the table or something?
In particular. Have I lost you?
You'll see? Okay. Okay.
Hey everyone, it's good to see everybody.
Hi, Andy. How are you, Mayan?
This is Mayan, my wife, for those who don't know.
Hi, Mayan. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Terry, why don't you say hello? Where are you?
Here I am, up in the corner.
Did you say Barry?
There's Carrie
Can you guys
and
hear me?
there's Barry. Those are two different people.
Carrie.
Carrie, okay, sorry.
That's okay,
Barry.
Barry.
Mix up.
I answered anything that ends in a Y.
I have to mute you for that, Barry.
Sorry.
Oh my God. So
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie. I'm calling in from Utah with my partner Colette, who's here as well. Really happy to be here, and I loved getting to listen in last night. Eli, I really loved hearing your 4-page essay. It was really beautiful.
Nobody ever said I was, I would believe in brevity. 4 pages is short for me.
Yeah.
I believe you.
It's like a still picture of something.
Hi, everybody. For those of you that I don't know, I'm Mike. I'm Jarvin's oldest son, also Andy's father, who you just met. This is my wife, Sharoni.
And Carrie's father.
I guess I'll start by sharing, sharing a few memories about Natalie. My memories go all the way back to my early childhood. I used to go to Knoxville pretty much every summer for at least a week or two. And I just remember Natalie always making me feel like I was, part of the immediate family. She was a great host. I remember her taking care of me when I fell over the wall at their house and landed on my head.
No.
I also remember, the Robinson family was a little bit more observant in the tradition than our family was. And I remember Shabbat dinners. It was really where I first got introduced to Shabbat dinners. And those memories have stayed with me all these years. Natalie was also, I remember she reached out to me and was just so thrilled when I decided to marry a nice Jewish girl. I guess she didn't think that was going to happen.
She called me in surprise right before the wedding and said, "You're having an upruf on Shabbat." And she said, I just must say, I am so delighted. And that was just a call before the wedding.
She was and what I guess what I remember most is she was just so much like my grandmother, Ella. Just never heard her raise her voice, was just always incredibly kind. And then probably our most recent memories, just over the past year or two, where Sharon and I would meet my dad and Natalie for lunch or dinner. And it was really hard for her to move around. I mean, it was really a chore for her to get in and out of the cars and get in and out of restaurants, but just never a word of complaint. She just loved being with us. We will miss her.
That's my mom. She didn't complain too much. If she complained, must have been really bad. When she broke her hip, I said, "Mom, how's it doing?" She said, "Well, it's pretty sore."
Let's be honest. She mainly complained about Randy's behavior. So let's just, if we're going to be honest here at Shiva.
Only the first 30 years.
That's about the only thing I ever heard her complain about. And it was consistent for about 60, 65 years.
Only the
I
first.
like all the platitudes and everything, and she was nice, but the reality, that was the big complaint.
Now.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with me. I don't hear any disagreement whatsoever.
Well, I never heard any of those complaints.
Yeah. She never complained to me.
Come on, we parted friends. Yeah. Okay. Let's see who else. Did Naomi Levison's in the house?
Wait, I have a memory on top of AJ's.
Good.
You might have to put yourself on mute for a second, because when I first came to Knoxville, I felt that Natalie very much accepted me. We were going to travel back to Philadelphia, and I said, I want to help organize the cassette tapes that were strewn all over Reza's car. And she quickly ran and got me a shoebox. She said, "If you want to organize my daughter, I definitely want to help you out." But that was her way of both accepting me, and slowly, it was after the 30 years, she began to accept Reza also. So there's another part to that story I just wanted to add in there.
Well, that dovetails on a story that I'm telling the family. It's based on Eli set the bar last night for the Mommy Nan honesty moments. So she had flown up to Toronto to visit me. It was the early 80s. I was trying to think about when it was, and I took her to some concert. It was like a folk, lesbian, rock. It was clearly out of her league. And on the way home, but she was there. She was a pretty good sport about it. And on the way home, she says to me, "You're never going to get married unless you change your ways." that was it. And I was like, "What do you mean?" So, and then I met Simcha not that long afterwards. So I proved her wrong, and then everything relaxed. But she, if she wanted to get a zinger in, she could get a zinger in. Everybody knows her as like, she never had a bad word to anybody, and this and that. That's all very good. And I know the truth. Okay, Richard, you want to say something? I'm gonna let Teddy in. Or you can wait till later, it's okay. I just want to make sure all our family has said hello.
Mom, you can give a little more tea than just that story. We know you have more embarrassing stories.
That's okay.
Levison night.
Teddy, hello and welcome.
So I have a story. Well, I have a few stories, but my daughter, Ella, who is named after Mommy Ella Mead, has a story from last year at my dad's funeral. And we talk about Aunt Nat all the time because of this story, and she is remembered fondly. Ella Mead, do you want to tell it?
So we were sitting at the lunch table eating Olive Garden, and I was putting salt on my pasta. And Aunt Nat says, "What's that?" And I say, "It's salt." And she says, "Starch?" And we said, "No, Aunt Nat, it's salt." And she says, "Starch." We say, "No, Aunt Nat, it's salt, S-A-L-T, salt." And she says, "Starch? You put it on your food?" And we say, "Salt and pepper." And she just didn't get it.
And Uncle Jarvin took the thing and put it on her food, and she said, "I don't want starch on my food." So anytime we get the salt out, we remember Aunt Nat. But I remember when I was a little kiddo, and I was the youngest cousin by I think I'm the youngest cousin by like 13 years or something. And at Passover, Uncle Mitchell, I thought was pretty tough on me and would hide the afikomen somewhere really hard, just to watch me try to find it. Because at that point, I was the only one left that really would look for it or care. And Aunt Nat was always very kind in giving me a lot of direction and clues on where I might be able to find it. So everyone wasn't having to wait 30, 45 minutes for me to track it down. And every time I was so grateful because it was hidden in a place that I was not going to find it by myself. There was no way I was going to find it. So that's one of my very fond memories. And then I also remember later in life when she got very serious and health conscious about food. And it's a little bit why the salt story is funny, because I can probably see why she 30 years later doesn't remember what salt is, because she would never let Uncle Mitchell have it. She never had salt in the house. And I always thought that was the craziest, to me, that my dad put salt on everything, anything. He salted treats. So somebody that wouldn't allow somebody to have salt, I thought was the funniest thing. And then she would have these little Melba toasts, and I didn't even know what Melba toasts were until I went over to Aunt Nat's, and she would have the Melba toast and tuna fish and some fruit, and then of course our famous salad. But I learned a lot about eating healthy before eating healthy was cool from Aunt Nat, because she was very healthy pretty early on before anybody else was thinking about that. So those are some of my fond memories. I have so many, but those are some of my fond memories of her.
So I've let our rabbi in, Rabbi Micah Becker-Klein. Micah, before we let everybody else in, this is just family on both my father and mother's side here. And we were telling a few stories just to kind of warm up a little bit.
I have one more if there's time.
Go for it.
This is actually probably my last real memory with Mommy Nat. Was last year. Zadie, Jarvin, myself, Naomi, and Natalie went out to brunch at a restaurant in Atlanta. And I feel like over the last couple of days, everybody's talking about how much she loved food and how much she loved lunch. And I got to see this day, just like I was reminded how seriously she does take it. We get to this restaurant, and the waiter comes to take our order, and she hadn't looked at the menu, and she proceeded to carefully read, order like item by item, every single thing on the menu, while this poor waiter stood, and we're like Natalie, he can come back. And she was just like, no, no. And like 20 seconds went by, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And it's a long time to have somebody just standing there waiting for you. But she was going to make sure to see every single option available to her. And then she proceeded to get like 3 different items. I think she got like pancakes, cheese grits, a lot of food, much more than we got. And we just, myself and Naomi just watched in amazement as this 93-year-old lady ate every single drop of it. It was, and I'm tough to impress when it comes to eating, but she left me pretty amazed that day.
I think we can all have stories of Mommy Nat's appetite. That's for sure. That is for sure.
It was quite a display.
Okay, Micah, before I let everybody in, do you have a question or anything? Can you just introduce yourself or?
Yeah, sure. First of all, my condolences to all of you. It is an honor to be here. My name is Micah Becker-Klein, and I'll say to everyone a little bit later on as well that I've had the double blessing of having known Natalie over a number of years, as well as having met Razel, but they were at different points in time, actually. As Simcha has identified me, we are now part of a group of northern men who have found Knoxvillian women to marry. So my wife is also from Knoxville. And when I first started dating Rachel and going to Chezek Emunah synagogue, of course, Natalie was one of the people who was there quite regularly. And so later, when I got to the rabbinical college, I got to meet Razel, but only after running around all of the rabbinical college asking if anybody knew who Randy Robinson was and being told there's no such person here. So I had this interesting coming together and getting to know who Razel was, but also having known who Natalie was at the time, and having been blessed to have met her a few times in my life, but not to have as many stories as you all have. But it certainly is an honor to be able to hold this space with you all and to have this second night of Shiva as we help escort her soul back to its emanating source. My condolences to all of you. I know that tonight, I believe it's Uncle Jarvin who's going to be speaking before we say Kaddish Yatom. And then after Kaddish Yatom, we'll say the 23rd Psalm. I have it in English for us. And then we're going to open the space up for more storytelling, however you, the family, would like to do that. Do you have any questions for me or requests? Other than winning lottery numbers, I can't do that. I have a screen share for you all for the prayers. So if any of you are wondering where or how that will come out, I'll do that just before we start, provided that someone was going to make me into a co-host. I don't remember who.
Yes, Asher just did.
Thank you, Asher.
You're in.
Oh, and I shouldn't forget, the other part of my deeper connections was having Pace and Asher amongst family live across the street from my in-laws. And so I've saw many dogs and many iterations of the family come through the neighborhood over there on Crest Hill Drive.
All right, let's just take a deep breath, and I think we're ready to let everybody in, and hopefully we'll hear some more stories. And if that's tickled your memories to share some stories, then please do. Asher, you doing a let in all? Oh, Jarvin, you're not ready to screen share.
All of a sudden, I've lost the screen's gone quiet.
Hold on. How's that?
Razel, if you'll give me the heads up when you believe we're set to go.
Okay. Let's give everybody time to get in here. Welcome, everybody.
So I have an unstable. Everybody seems
unstable internet. Uncle Jarvin, can you plug into something? Get closer to your router? Could Andy or somebody give him some tech support behind the scenes? Can you call him? Tell him
Yeah, I
what to,
can try giving them a call.
okay. Okay, welcome everybody. On behalf of the Robinson-Raphael family. I don't know all of you, but I'm honored that you're here to help us honor my mother's memory. Brother AJ is under the pseudonym Ethan Robinson on his Zoom screen, and my brother Pace is under the pseudonym Karen Robinson, his wife, and my Uncle Jarvin somewhere around. So I'm going to welcome Rabbi Micah Becker-Klein to lead us tonight.
We're gathering here tonight as a community, a virtual community, in support of those who are mourning the loss of Natalie Robinson, of Nechama Leah Bat Elki V'Chaim. On this, the second night of Shiva, we gather together from so many places around geographically, and both the devastation of this time, of this COVID disease, there's also been the ability to transcend geographic boundaries. So in this time, we're able to be together, and even when it's not safe, we can support one another. To those who are mourning the loss of Natalie, to Razel, to AJ and Pace, to Jarvin, her children and their children, spouses and partners, to you we say, may you be consoled amongst those who mourn. Hamakom yinachem etchem. At this time, we'll begin this Mariv service of gathering together and offering prayers and reflections for this evening. Please join me as you feel comfortable. Hine ma tovu manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manai shevet kulam gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet kulam gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov manayim shevet kulam gam yachad. As we move through these prayers, hopefully between the words and the melodies and the images, you will be able to join with your heart, with your spirit. Something we can read together here from the writings of Leah Goldberg, a poet of the early years of the state of Israel. In understanding a life that spans many decades, to see places come, to see poetry rise and artists come into this world and leave this world, to be touched by so many. This poem by Leah Goldberg hopefully reminds us of the blessings of life each day and the way that Natalie that Nachamaleah lived each day to its fullest. Lamdeni Elohai, barech vehit palel. If you feel like joining me, I invite you. Teach me, my God, to wonder and to marvel at the mystery of a withering leaf, at the luster of a ripening fruit, at this freedom to see, to feel, to breathe, to know, to hope, to stumble. Teach my lips words of blessing and songs of praise as as again you offer me life with each morning and night, lest my day today be as those that came before, lest my day today be merely routine. We'll call ourselves to prayer. If you're able to rise, you feel so moved to rise and face the rising sun, the eastward direction perhaps from where you are, though I know not what continent you're on at this point, which way you'd like to stand. As we bless the source of life, let's feel ourselves connected to this earth and to this world and atmosphere, to this virtual community. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Barechu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam vaed. Coming into the time of the night known as Ma'ariv, evening out the frayed edges, evening out this time, and the rough time, like where the shore meets the sand and the sea and the ocean. Evening, the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv, Aravi, Amen. If you don't know it, you should by now. I've been singing this with Razel since about 1995. And these words, they are so powerful to see on the page and let them fall into your heart. Sacred words, even the evenings. Wisdom opens gates locked behind our hearts. Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, be'ochma poteach she'arim. Evening, the evening, evening, the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv, Aravim, Amen. Look what time does. Understanding alters with times, changing seasons, cycles divine. Uvitvanem mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim. Evening, the evenings, evening, the frayed edges of our lives, Ma'ariv, Aravim, Amen. Sing singing again. Evening, the evenings, evening, the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv, Araviv, Amen. Paint diamonds on a canvas called sky. Soothe our souls with a lilting lullaby. Umisader et hakochavim. Ishmoroteihem brakia kirtzono. Evening, the evenings, evening frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv, Araviv, Amen. Evening, the evenings, evening, the frayed edges of our lives. Ma'ariv, Araviv, Amen. Rolling, rolling into the night. Rolling, rolling away the light. Kolel or mipnei choshech. Kolel choshech mipnei or. Evening, the evenings, evening the free edges of our lives. Ma'ariv, ma'ariv, aravim, aravim, amen. Spirit of the night, we bless your name. Eternal light, eternal flame. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu. Leolam, leolam va'ed. Evening, the evenings, evening the free edges of our lives. Ma'ariv, Araviv, Amen. Ma'ariv, Araviv, Amen. Sometimes it's hard to feel the love. And sometimes, especially during COVID, it's hard to see the people you want to let them know they're loved. But we're all loved. You are loved. Each and every one of us. We know that love and felt that love through the life that Natalie led, that Nahama led and spread to all of you, brought all of you together here. It's like that bittersweet party. The one we're wanting to be with the most is the one who's not here, yet that's why we're together tonight. You should know you're loved. It's a hard time for the Robinsons, the Raphael family. It's a hard time for so many. You should know you're loved and feel that love. Ahavat olam. You are encircled by love. You are encircled by love. Each and every one of us. You are encircled by love. Even those not in the room, you are encircled by love. Ahavat olam. Ahavat olam. Ahavat olam. You can take a nice deep breath and sing. Ahavat olam. Again. Ahavat olam. We are encircled. We are encircled by love. Each and every every one of us. We are encircled by love. We are encircled by love. We are encircled by love. You can join me in singing Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam, Ahavat Olam. An unending love brings us to the moment of listening and hearing what's in our hearts. I invite you to still yourself for a moment. If you can find your grounding, you find your feet on the floor. If you can, feel that. If you can find your sit bones against a chair or a seat, or your shoulders meeting the chair, I want to invite you to feel that connection of the four corners of who you are, your world, the four corners of you, brought together in that love. So when we say Shema Yisrael, unity, unifying all of us, we embody that connectivity. I invite you to join me. And if you're comfortable, some of us might feel comfortable standing. Some of us might feel comfortable sitting. However you mindfully say this prayer, I want to invite you to join me at this time. And if you would like to unmute yourselves, I take a risk, but I'd like to invite you all for Shema Yisrael to unmute yourselves so we can hear this cacophony of unity together. If you're so brave, you can do that at this time. And I will count us in Hebrew so we can chant Shema together. Chad, Shaim, Shalosh. Shema Adonai Adonai So I'll invite you all to remute at this time. We'll have a chance to hear one another.
You muted yourself.
Now some words of Torah we can chant, if you feel so comfortable in joining me, about love unending. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam vanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam liot al yadecha v'ayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. From finding love and unity to reminding ourselves about what the nighttime can bring, about praying for peace and healing and respite, for those who are suffering right now from illness and disease, from what COVID has brought to what cancer brings and mental illnesses that people struggle with. It's at this time that we pray, all the more so for our mourners, for those who are mourning the loss of Natalie, of Nachama Leah, that tonight be a night where you have some rest and respite and waken tomorrow to life renewed. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom. I invite you to read with me in the English. O God, protect us tonight as we lie down in peace, and let us rise up, God, to life renewed on the morrow. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake. Be our enduring help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings eternally. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and deep sorrow. Distance us from evil. Watch over us. For you, God, are always gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming each day today for life and for peace. And let us say, Amen. I'd like to offer a few moments now for personal reflection. In Hebrew, we call this the Amidah. On your screen, you'll see a Shaviti. It's a prayer mandala, a meditation of sorts, where you can let your eyes take in the figure as your meditation that you see there. I also have the opening words that are traditional to the evening Amidah. I'll invite everyone to take just a few moments for personal prayer. If you have a Siddur and would like to offer the traditional Ma'ariv Amidah at this time, I'll invite you to do that as well. Take a few moments for reflection tonight, for grounding, and thinking about our ancestors, thinking about our Gvura, our strength, and in thinking about our Hoda'ah, our gratitude. I'll call us back together in a few moments. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. Natalie Nachamalea was an inspiring, awesome, incredible individual who brought love, light, compassion, and some order into this world. I invite each and every one of us who knew Natalie, who knew Nachamalea, who loved her as a mother, as a grandmother, as a great person in this world that you related to and knew, something that she inspired you for. And when we say Aleinu, it is upon us to make this world a better place. Litakein olam b'malchut Shaddai. V'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. So that we have this force of life within us. As we rise for Aleinu, I want you to think about something Natalie brought to you and inspired you that you put on your shoulders and that you can carry throughout Shiva, throughout Shloshim, through 30 days, that you can carry from here forward. And if you're able to rise, you're able to stand, I invite you to stand at this time. And I invite everyone who's able to face the east, take a moment to ground yourself, remind yourself about what you're carrying in Natalie's memory, in her honor, as we say Aleinu, it is upon us. Aleinu lishabeach la'adon hakol, lateit gedula liotze breshit, shelo asanu kogoye aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kaham, V'gor aleinu kechol hamonam. And so we bow. Va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umohodim lifnei melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, Litaken olam, Litaken olam, B'malachut Shaddai. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, Litaken olam, Litaken olam, Litaken olam, B'malachut Shaddai. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. I'll invite you to be seated if you're standing. And before we get to the mourners Kaddish Yatom, going to invite Uncle Jarvin to share some words with us tonight and reflections on Natalie, on Nachamalea's life. And you'll need to unmute yourself, Uncle Jarvin, so we can hear you and see you.
For those that want to see him, you can put the speaker view on.
think we're having some technical difficulties, so stand by for just a moment and hopefully we'll figure it out. As we take a moment here, if you would like, we have a chat window. I know it's been quite active to offer your condolences and thoughts. And you can share them there and the family can see them.
Condolences, prayers, anything my mother inspired you to. I like that question, Micah.
She was an inspiring woman.
Well, as we wait for Uncle Jarvin, if anybody is...
I had an unstable connection and I lost you all, but can you see this photograph of Natalie and, what happened, Natalie and Ella?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
We got it, Jarvin, but you froze again.
Uncle Jarvin, you might have to just turn your video off.
I'm not sure when that, Natalie moved.
Uncle Jarvin. Andy, you think you can reach him?
I just don't think there's much that can be done right now.
I think if he mutes his, like he takes the video off, he'll be able to talk.
If one of you gets him on the telephone, you could put his telephone up to your speaker and he can just tell us the story. You could hear it.
I can try that.
Try that. Stand by. In the meantime, if there are other people that want to tell a Natalie story or a memory or an impression or...
I'm going to go real quick.
Okay.
Oh, Jarvin, you ready?
Not yet, Pace. Go ahead.
I'm going to put you on speaker. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Why don't you go on mute? So this picture, okay.
Hold on. How was this side?
Whether that was like before Natalie lived in Knoxville or after Natalie and my parents and Jordan moved to Knoxville. But it was around that time frame, I believe. Because Natalie certainly looks younger than 30. And of course, I've always viewed her as my little sister. Am I coming through now?
Yeah, you guys can hear me, right?
And Andy, actually, if there's a Zoom number, he can call in from the Zoom number. We might get a clear signal.
It seems like we got a pretty good connection now. Zadie, maybe
I think this might be as good as it's going to get.
Maybe ask him to take it off mute just to see if it works, because we see him.
Trying to connect you.
Yeah.
No, he's frozen.
Maybe he should call in on the Zoom number.
All right, I'll work on it.
You'll work on that?
Yeah.
Pace, in the meantime?
So if you want, if you want, Razel or friends, we can do the Kaddish and 23rd Psalm, and then we can move on to sharing, or unless Uncle Jarvin's on.
Let Pace tell a story first, I think.
You want Pace to? Great, perfect.
Go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to acknowledge my brother and sister, who all of us have helped take care of my mother as she reached her golden years. Most all of us have been.
We lost Pace too now? Come back. Okay, there you go. Now we can.
Did you hear that first part? I wanted to acknowledge.
I think you were starting to say something nice about me and AJ.
I am. We most people have been through the process of taking care of aging parents, and it's never very easy. And there's always a lot of bumps along the way. And we did our best and to keep Natalie comfortable. And as it was said earlier, she really never complained. And we had to work around that because we didn't know sometimes if she was sick or not feeling well or whatever. But part of the reason I think the way we are is the way, because of the way she was. I remember many dinners at our table and Shabbat dinners, probably with Bob and Faye and Reuben also, possibly Gilbert even, to discuss taking care of Sylvia and Ella, but especially Sylvia. And there was always a debate about, should she stay in her apartment? Should she go live here? Should she go live there? And they had an earnest discussion over and over. And Natalie was often the calming voice of reason, I guess you might say, in that group. And I guess we were learning along the way as we saw them try to take care of their aging mothers, as the case was at the time. And in those days, there weren't the same options. There was no such thing as assisted living or independent living. I think it was a nursing home, which was not a very pleasant thing. But anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge Razel from afar, especially, and AJ over the last 2 years, who had a tough time, especially the last year. If anybody has a relative or parent who's in a facility right now and has seen what's happened the last 9 months, they're locked in, they're not locked in, you can't see them, you can't talk to them. And in Nat's case, it was very hard for her to understand. It was confusing, and why can't she go out to lunch? So it was difficult, but I think that we did the best we could. It was difficult, but I think in the end she remained pretty comfortable most of the time, despite the pitfalls that we had to go through. All right, my floor's over, Jarvin.
I just want to add a PS to that. Is Jarvin set up or not yet?
Still working on it.
Still working on it. So I just want to add a PS to that, because yes, it was you and me and AJ, but there was a team here. And I just want to pay tribute to my sister-in-laws, because I didn't mention them too much at the funeral. And in particular, they each had their own specialty to do. My mother needed, for 10 years, she lived next to Pace and Karen, and she needed appointments. She needed hearing aids appointments, podiatry appointments, and the doctor's appointment, and the hairdresser appointment, and don't forget the nails appointment. And Karen stepped up and was the extreme scheduler for all of that, and printed out a schedule every week, because she didn't know what day it was at some point, and kept her on target. And Nicole, I have to give credit to, because my mother loved to shop. Now, when people think about shopping, they go to the store, they buy something, they bring it home, and they wear it. This was not my mother. My mother went to the store, bought it, 9 times out of 10 took it back. And poor Nicole had the job of trying to find her a pair of pants. Long distance, in the nursing home, or bring the pants, send the pants back, get the pants, send the pants back. This was part of shopping was a hobby. It didn't mean necessarily you had to keep it. You just had to go shopping and buy it, and then you had an excuse to go out again and take it back. So Nicole and Karen and Gloria, if she's on here, all bore because she didn't really like to take it back. She wanted somebody else to take it back. So I just wanted to pay tribute to my sister-in-laws. And Simcha, in his own way, was very supportive, whether he labeled the lights at the house or and a variety of different things long distance kept her in pictures that she loved. I just want to bring them into that circle. So, Jarvin, are we there yet?
So I would just want to say, as an observer of siblings, the way the three of you collaborated was just very, very, very beautiful and admirable. And Asher, I don't know if Eli's here. My kids are here.
Muted.
You're muted, Simcha. You're muted. When you spoke about how you learned from your parents to take care of your grandparents, how you saw your parents taking care of your grandparents. All of our kids are around, so I hope that they will pick up that message also. Hopefully in a long time.
While we're waiting on Uncle Jarvin,
I keep unmuting and I keep getting muted. Am I unmuted now?
all right, you're unmuted. Keep
talking.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I was just going to express my thanks and appreciation to all of the Robinsons for taking care of my sister for a number of years and permitted me to enjoy our relationship without any responsibility in endeavoring to take care of her in any fashion. So we continued our relationship right up to the end. And I really don't like to remember the last year or two because we had such a great time for the first 91 years. This is right now a pretty terrible time, but we'll all get over it. And I'm the last 2 or 3 days I've been sort of looking at photos and remembering times when we were little and also growing up. And the day our mother went to the hospital, she took a taxi to the hospital when she was delivering Gilbert. And we had no idea where she was going or why. We just knew this sort of small, large stomach was getting in a taxi and leaving us. My father was out of town. But anyhow, from that point on, instead of the 2 of us, there were 3 of us. And I will say that despite our differences, I think we remain close and devoted to each other, even though we did have occasional differences, although I don't remember really any times when Natalie and I had any significant difference at all. We had most of our times were very enjoyable. And I'm delighted that, and I know she would be delighted to know that the next generation of our families, and including Alexia, are really pretty close with each other, much more so than most people in your generation and their relatives, for which we really, just the words quell when we see you all together. So I'll sort of pass that on unless to my children or grandchildren, unless somebody else has a question about that you want to ask me about Natalie or our relationship and our relationship with Gilbert. I'll pass it on.
Uncle Jarvin, thank you for those words. I just want to see if you have both, if you can mute your computer but keep your phone, it'll cut down on that little bit of feedback we're getting. But you still have your phone on, right?
still have my phone on. The problem was
Mute the computer. Keep the phone. Good.
coming through my phone. I could hear you come through the computer.
Good. Mute the phone. Mute the computer. Okay. Hey, JD.
Okay.
I think we lost Jarvin, but
You lost me.
No, we hear you.
He's here. We just got a little bit of feedback. So I had to mute you, Uncle Jarvin. You had too much feedback. Hey, Jay, you're
okay. Yes. So good evening, everyone. And on behalf of my family and Razel and Pace's family and Jarvin's family, there's so many people here who don't know each other. And I just want to make one comment about everything about my mother has all been true, except one thing. She would be horrified that we were sitting here, 100 and something people talking about her. She was a very humble person, and she would just be, I think, just horrified to know that so many of you are on this Zoom and listening to us wax about her and her life. She was not a person who sought the spotlight or could even conceive of people talking about her in this way. So it's great that we're doing it, of course. But she would have turned the Zoom off a long time ago if she heard someone mentioning her name. And those of you in Knoxville know that, who know her. She was not someone who ever sought to talk at any function or to say anything, and particularly nothing negative about anybody in any particular way. So we are very grateful for all of you who have shown up to share your thoughts and your words of comfort to all of us, and they mean a lot. I know she, in a good way, really would appreciate it, but would be incredibly uncomfortable about all this. So with that, I think we can say Kaddish.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone in the family who shared with us words. I'm going to do a screen share now for you all for Kaddish. If you feel like you are compelled to rise, first I'd like to invite the family, everyone who is mourning the loss of Natalie, to rise, and all those who are mourning a loss in their lives, anyone who feels compelled to rise for Natalie or for those in your life at this time, invite you to stand. If you're comfortable unmuting yourself for the communal response, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, I'll invite you to try to do that. I'll begin and invite the mourners to join me.
You can see the straight line.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah. Amen. V'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imeru. Amen. V'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam naseh. V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, Shemei Kudisha, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imeru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Yaseh shalom bimromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru amen.
Amen. Amen.
Zichronah livracha. May her memory, may Natalie's memory, the memory of Nachamalea be a blessing. And let us say,
Amen. Amen.
I invite you to recite with me the 23rd Psalm, and then we'll have some time for sharing. If you feel like joining me, I invite you to do so. Mizmor le David. Mizmor le David. Adonai roi lo echsar. A psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and leadeth me beside the still waters. God restoreth my soul. God leadeth me in paths of righteousness for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you, thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Have an opportunity now for this sharing, the openness of storytelling that already began and should continue to flow. That Natalie, that Nahamalea's memory, stories, and legacy stay alive and present with us. And that the family who is mourning find comfort at this time of loss. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed is the righteous judge. May Natalie rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Now we have an opportunity for sharing, and to
Thank
you
you,
all,
Mike.
I offer my condolences, and to my dear friend of many years now, Gila, I'll let you guide the family discussion and friends.
So first of all, thank you, Micah, jumping in at a moment's notice when you have lots of other Shiva minions this week, unfortunately. And I appreciate it, really appreciate it. And that you had a connection to my mother as well. So I'm just noticing the things that everybody's writing in the chat. A smile, she was welcoming. So if there are people out here who knew her that can help us, the last few years were rough. It was very hard. 2 years ago, I was in Florida and Mom fell and broke her hip. And at that point, we had to take her from Florida to Atlanta and put her in a facility. It wasn't safe for her to stay at her lake house, which Eli talked last night about his one regret in life. And so the regret I have around my mother is that about, I would say 3 or 4 years ago, she called me. I remember the moment because I was on the way to lead services at my congregation. And I called my mother every day, so I called her on the way, and I said, "Mom, how you doing?" She says, "I'm good. I'm okay. I'm sitting at the lake. I'm looking out the window. It's beautiful here. I'm reading a book." And then she said, "This isn't a bad place to end my life." I said, "Mom, what? What are you saying? What do you mean? Are you going somewhere? Are you trying to tell me something?" This was not my mother to reflect deeply on the meaning of life and where she needed to be. And so in my vision for the end of her life, we would have brought her back to the lake. And because of COVID, it just didn't work out like that. So the last 2 years were hard. And I'd like to invite some of you who might have a memory that goes back before these last 2 years in particular to share them with us so that it will help us remember who she was before this last chapter. So we'll just open the,
Hi, this is Jeff Becker from Knoxville.
Hi, Jeff.
Got me?
Yeah.
When we moved to Knoxville 40 something years ago, we really didn't know anybody here. And somehow Natalie found out that we were new in town. But my mother visited us, and Natalie called up and said, "I'd like to take your mother out to lunch." She didn't know my mother. She didn't know us really. And every time my mother came to town after that, Natalie would take my mother out to lunch. It was one of these beautiful things. What's a hak matzat orchim, welcoming the neighbor into your home, the Jewish value. And I guess she epitomized that. She was so wonderful to my mother, and my mother always asked about her, and we were always grateful for that.
She also liked lunch. But yes, that sounds like my mother. Anybody else with a story?
I've already given a story, but just wanted to show these pictures following Uncle Jarvin's. I don't know if you all can see this, but
Oh, how nice.
Jarvin, Natalie, and Gilbert. And then here's one a little later, but still they look happy and in good spirits. So I just thought, following Uncle Jarvin, I just thought showing the three of them together would be helpful.
Thank you, Shuli.
Thank you.
Alexia.
I was about to show this picture, which is probably the same one you were showing. Is that the one?
Sorry, Uncle Jarvin, you were breaking up. What did you say?
You have, Alexia.
One was from his house.
See it.
And then this, I don't know where you all were here. I don't know where that is. Florida, maybe? And then this one's from Nathaniel's bar mitzvah.
Thank you, Shuli. Alexia. Who else has got a story? Raise your hand.
I have something to say.
Sue Say is in the house. Sue and Sam. Welcome. We're here in Dallas. Where are you?
We moved to Knoxville with a young family, and we were so fortunate. We became good friends, very good friends with Mitchell and Natalie. I love Natalie dearly. I love all the Robinsons and the Glucks and all my Knoxville friends. We were part of a group. We were lucky. We were a group of friends. And it was wonderful. And we spent summers at the lake. Such memories, such wonderful memories. And lunch, of course, all the time. Lunch and shopping and do good work. Are we there? There's some of the do good that I especially remember, and I'm really proud of. I did with Natalie. We did Job Corps, volunteer work, and when Medicare was coming into being, Natalie and I went to, East Dallas, the neighborhood where people lived in housing projects, We went door to door to sign up people. And we had such good feelings. We had such wonderful memories. I love you all. That's it.
Anybody else want to unmute and tell a story or memory or Dina Saroff?
Hi.
Okay, wait, I gotta unmute you. Unmute Dina. Dina, unmute. There you go. Nope. There you go. Dina, I think you're still muted.
Here we go. Got that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I remember as a little girl coming, looking forward to the bazaar, which was always in November. And I remember that we always baked a cake for the cakewalk, and your mother was always she was always there. I didn't know if she was the chairman or not, but she seemed shy, but she was always very friendly and had a very pleasant smile on her face and always looked lovely. So, and I think what you said, maybe I was too much for you, Mom. I don't know. She was much more timid than you, I think. Just, we're all individuals. We all have our stuff. So I just want to wish you and AJ and Pace and Karen and AJ's wife who helped take care of her, because Becca and I helped take care of our mother together here, and she came down the last like 15 years of her life, and she was with us here in Florida in Jacksonville. And it's really a privilege to get to see your parents, to grow into their elder years, although sometimes difficult because they are declining. But I felt like it was a privilege to help take care, so you can see what it's like to grow old, because it seems a little bit unsettling sometimes as to what can happen to you in your older years. But I want to wish you and AJ and your family, the team, I may be comforted among the mourners of Zion and Yerushalayim, and may Nechama, what's her middle name? Nechama Leah's Aliyah go higher and higher.
Amen.
Randy, Bernie.
Yes, Barbara. Yes,
I want to
Barbara
say
and
something, Rachel.
Yes. Look up, Bernie, so they can see your face.
Natalie was a marvelous daughter-in-law. For so many years, when her mother-in-law, Sylvia Robinson, couldn't see, Natalie was always with her, taking her different places, taking her to the synagogue, picking her up, taking her shopping, and so on. She was just a super daughter-in-law. And when Mitchell got sick, she had the burden of handling Mitchell, getting him into a wheelchair, out of a wheelchair, putting the wheelchair away, and so on. And she did it all, and she did it with a smile on her face, but she was a super caregiver. No one has mentioned Reuben yet, but Reuben was the so-called brother-in-law who was always looking for a date. And he would show up with women, and Natalie always stepped in and treated them with kindness and interest. And she did that for many years. So she's set a good example for her children. And from what I see of her children, they picked up the same spirit that she had and care for other people in need. So keep it up, guys. You're all terrific.
May I add something? I just have a lot of thousands of thoughts, but I don't think anyone has mentioned Natalie's giggle. To me, that was a signature part of Natalie's persona. She smoothed all kinds of rough places by just laughing a little. It was a giggle, and it just filled in all the bad places. It calmed people if there was a reason to be angry someone else. She just kind of giggled it off. And it was a unique thing that Natalie had. I don't know anybody else that could do that. And it really helped all of us. She was also more fun than anybody in the world. And she was a party girl. If there was nothing to do, Natalie'd have a party. That's it. We miss her.
I know, Barbara, she laughed a lot. She laughed when she, hit the curb, a car, she laughed when a car backed into her. She backed into a car. She laughed when she lost her keys. She laughed. I mean, she was a little scared of Pace at the end. Uh-oh, don't tell Pace I've lost the keys. But
Can I speak?
yes, Marilyn.
Yes. Last night at the Shiva, I was so impressed with everyone talking about Natalie as a family member and you all talking. The thing that I felt that maybe some of you didn't know is what kind of a friend she was and what we did. So I thought I'd like to tell a couple of stories, if I may. One time we went to Atlanta, Natalie and I, and we talked so much in the car that all of a sudden the car stopped and we realized we were out of gas. So we got out of the car and we stood on the side of the road on the way to Atlanta. And fortunately, we were lucky that a nice man came by with a truck and he took us to get gas and to fill it up. So that was, I don't think we told our husbands about that at all, that experience. Another time I went with Natalie on one of the modern trips, just the two of us. We went to Cabo. And the first thing we did when we got off the ship was we saw a Jimmy Buffett restaurant. And we went and had margaritas, of course. We had so many margaritas that when we left that place, someone said to us, there's a glass store down the street. Maybe you'll want to stop in and see it, secondhand glass. So we both went in feeling maybe very good. And we bought so much glass that we had to have this man from the store take us back to the ship. The thing about Natalie that was just so wonderful is she was always ready to do anything at any time. And we we loved it. She was ready to drink in the afternoon. She was ready to go to dinner, shopping when I went to Florida and stayed with her. As Rachel, you started to say, we shopped every single store in Florida. And she is someone that I can't express in words how much I'm already missing her.
We'll take a few more if anybody wants to talk.
Hazel, I'd say something.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. First, my condolences to all the Robinsons. I'm so sorry for your loss. Natalie was a wonderful person, and two memories that come to my mind are one time she and Faye came to New York City, where I live, and we went out to lunch in Bloomingdale's, and it was a very, very nice lunch. It was lovely to sit around with these matriarchs and in New York City and have a nice lunch and then walk around Bloomingdale's with them. People referenced their shopping, but it was fun to have their visit and spend time with them outside of Atlanta or other places where we might have been. But the other thing that comes to mind with Natalie is that she became good friends with my Aunt Esther. on my mother's side of the family later in life in Florida, and my Aunt Esther loved her. And she Natalie really enriched Esther's life. The two of them talked very fondly of each other, would visit and have Shabbat dinner together in Florida. And I know that my Aunt Esther really loved Natalie, and she herself passed away earlier this year. But it was for her, knowing Natalie was, I think, one of the highlights of her life. They really enjoyed each other's company. So my condolences to everybody.
I miss your Aunt Esther too. She was fantastic down here with my mother. When I would come down here with my mother and I go do something and it was harder to get my mother in and out, I'd bring her over to Aunt Esther's house and let her babysit there for a little while, and they loved each other. Anybody else with a different aspect? You're helping us put the pieces of the puzzle of her life together. Gilia, would you say a few words? You knew my mother in a very different way. Will you say a few words, Gilia?
May I, Rachel?
Yes.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Okay, good. My condolences to all of you in the Robinson family. It's hard for me to talk about Natalie because I was so fond of her. When I first came to Knoxville in 1993, Mitchell and Natalie, along with a number of other families in Knoxville, took me under their wing and introduced me to the community and made sure I had what I needed. I was brought to Knoxville to found the Judaic Studies program at UT. And Natalie and Mitchell right away established a fund to support my teaching as well as my research. Later on, they established the Robinson annual lecture, which is still going on to this day. And Mitchell and Natalie always checked on me what I needed and what they could do for me, and they became really good friends. And then after Mitchell's death, Natalie continued to become a really close friend of mine, and she would come to Shabbat dinner at my house. Of course, she came to all the lectures that we did and other programs of Judaic Studies. And we always would go to lunch. First, we started out with dinner while I was still working and she could still get out. But later on, when I retired and it became more difficult for her, we would go to lunch. And she liked to all different places. And she was so interested in everything that was going on. She always asked questions. She had advice. She was just so involved. And later on, when it became more difficult for both of us to get out, and she was always so kind to me, and Pace and Karen, of course, have that.
Gilia, I think your internet is unstable. Did we lose Gilia? Yeah. Or did you lose me? It's hard to tell.
We got you.
Okay. Okay, Gilia, I think she froze there. Anybody else that wants to? I was seeing if Jennifer Leverson, this is my cousin, Super Jenny, makes the most amazing soups in the world. It's infamous.
Yes, let's turn this into a commercial, Rachel. I just wanted to share a memory because Natalie was my aunt. And of course, I spent time with her as an adult, but most of my memories were when I was a small child. And we would come from Atlanta to Knoxville. And I remember we would all drive. I can't remember, Dad, what kind of car you had at that time, but I just remember being very excited that we were going to go to Aunt Natalie and Uncle Mitchell's house I believe we would go for the Jewish holidays every year. And I could be wrong that it might have been another holiday, but I remember one time, and I loved going to their house because they were also a family with 3 kids like us. And so everything about Aunt Natalie's house, I just loved exploring. And I just remember one holiday, we were all sitting at the table, and I feel like I was 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old, and the service was going on, and I was too embarrassed to get up from the table, and I basically peed in my pants at the table. And Aunt Natalie was there sitting next to me, and she was the most gracious, got me up from the table, probably got me something from Razel or someone's outfit that would fit me, and without anyone ever missing a beat, got me back to the table to have the family meal. And then I remember the next time we came to Knoxville, Aunt Natalie came over to me, and she gave me this outfit and said, I just want you to not have any worries. If anything should happen again, I'm ready this time. And I'm not sure I ever really shared that with anyone, or anyone knew that in our family, but I just laughed over it for years afterwards. And she was and also her giggle, I completely remember her giggle. And I was always very proud. I was always told that I looked so much like her when she was a young woman. So I have lots of pictures that I've kept of her from that time.
See what I mean, Jennifer? That is a piece of a puzzle that we did not have.
You really needed that one.
Jennifer, I wanted to say, and you mentioned it, you do look like a young Natalie. It's striking to me. Be proud.
Anybody got a hand up or unmuting?
I'll briefly say something. The majority of my comments were, of course, made last night, and a couple people had asked me. We actually did record them. I'm not sure I could ever say it again, but I'll put it up on YouTube. But I will say, speaking of Mommy Nat being a friend to some unlikely people, so I guess I'd describe the parties as legendary. But Mommy Nat always liked to throw a good 4th of July party. One that, of course, the mantle has been taken up by my mother and father now. But it was so legendary that I used to invite a lot of my college friends to come down from wherever we are, New York or Philadelphia or whatever, to come down for the party. And for those of you who have been to the lake in the last 10 years, you know that there's 2 houses out there now. That for a long time were only 1, but my parents' house is, about 15 feet away from Mommy Nat. So there was always I would call it the exercise of deciding who was going to be staying at my parents' house and who was going to be staying at Mommy Nat's house. And it was always very funny to me because in most situations, you would imagine that people would go to the ends of the earth to avoid staying in the grandmother's house. But there was a waiting list for Mommy Nat's house because people my friends absolutely loved her hospitality. They absolutely loved having coffee with her in the morning and wine. And these are, 23-year-old, Wall Street finance guys. And Mommy Nat, I have no idea. She was the ultimate chameleon. I have no idea what it was. I actually was at a friend's house earlier this week, and he said to this day he can't imagine that the next time he comes to Florida or comes to Knoxville that he'd have to stay at my mother's house because he stayed at Mommy Nat's every single time. So it was just this, as life expectancies go up, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of my friends' grandparents, and a lot of them have met Mommy Nat, and they've all, to a person, just been so touched by the fact that little part she had on her life. And my mother is probably listening to this going, what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you, Mom. Just you're a little bit more of the iron fist to Mommy Nat's velvet glove. So I think that, you know, they thought that might be a, so I'm not sure if they come back where they're going to stay, but you know, how she could connect to people like that is just a gift that I don't know if we'll see again.
Thanks, E. All right, one or two more. Anybody? Is Yigdal on here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Somebody mentioned running out of gas. I thought maybe you could share a story with that.
Yeah, I could share a story about that. I actually had a little giggle to myself when somebody mentioned that. So you touched on it, I think last night, or the other day at the funeral, about how you guilted Mommy Nat, guilted my grandmother into taking us to Florida one time, from Florida to Disney World, Disneyland, whatever it is up in Orlando. And this was at the time she was driving a Buick Rendezvous, a tank, a lot of metal, and about 12 and a half miles to the gallon for gas mileage. And it was, I don't know how old I was. I was old enough where I was like cognizant of what was going on, but not old enough where like I'm also aware that we're driving a 5-hour drive, and at no point in time anybody thought, you know, we need to check and make sure we have gas. And it was one of those situations where you and your mother, you know, my mother and my grandmother were just having a ball, you know, having a blast of a conversation. And all of a sudden the gas light was on, and it was like 30 miles to the next exit on the turnpike or on 95, wherever it was. And I remember they put on the, you know, after it's read 0 miles left, put on the 4-ways and drove like 35, 40 miles an hour in the right lane. And we made it on fumes, got off the highway, rolled into a gas station. And it was just kind of like, you know, I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I'm not in charge. How did we get into this situation? Who's, you know, who's got the wheel in their hands that's not paying attention to what's going on? And it may have been Mommy Nat. So she was just, you know, she loved to live in the moment and, I don't know, have a good time. You know, there was always something to talk about. Always some small talk or something to be had. So
thank you. She would call and say, what's new? Here's the news. And she'd give me the headlines of somebody in town. There was, you know, this and that. This one died. This one had a baby. This one moved. This and that. And if I didn't have anything to say, she'd say, okay, well, I guess we're done. And if I didn't have a headline for her, she wasn't interested. So I had nothing for her. So, okay. All right. One more. Anybody left with a story? Unmute yourself, and if not, we'll bring it in here for a closing. Do I see a hand or a voice? Fran Reddish.
Well, when Phil and I got married in 1982, your father had just had maybe a stroke or something. It was March of 82. He had been sick. Maybe
a heart surgery.
Yeah, heart surgery. And our wedding was the first thing that he came to after being hospitalized. And my parents, your mom brought him in a wheelchair, and my parents were really thrilled that they could be there to share that. And the other thing I remember is when I came back to Knoxville as an adult, I didn't know what to call your mother because we had grown up and she was Mrs. Robinson and I was 24 or 20, early 20s. And that's when I started calling her Natalie because it seemed silly to call her Mrs. Robinson at that point. And I know that if my mother could, she would be here talking about their wonderful friendship because your parents were some of my parents' closest friends.
You know, thank you, Fran. Speaking of Mrs. Robinson, you know that The Graduate came out when I was a teenager. My mother wouldn't let me see it. And, you know, it was about Mrs. Robinson who seduces the college student. And you know, she just didn't, after that, everybody, oh, Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Robinson, she didn't quite know what to do with that name after that. There was a period of time where she was like, oh, and people would sing it to her, here's to you, Mrs. Robinson. So that, it stuck. All right, AJ and Pace, last word, anybody? Okay, Mary and Linda, okay.
Well, while y'all been talking, I've been trying to organize boxes of photographs, and this is what I just found.
Oh, you and my mother.
Uh-huh. I'll scan it and send it to you.
Thank you. Do you have a particular memory, Mary Linda?
Well, as I said last night, I just remember she was just a role model for us. So,
I'll scan it and send it to you.
Just the memories of her being at all the events that we attended and all of her support and all the organizational things we did, and just that same things everybody else said about what a lady she was, and gracious and welcoming and warm and never criticizing, and just always being there for support and all the things that we did.
Thank you. Okay, somebody.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah. Okay.
We're compiling some pictures. Asher, how are we going to publish that for people to see?
Email address in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put my email address in the chat, and if anyone has photos of Mommy Nat, they can send them my way. I'm trying to put together a slideshow to show in a few days, and just to have in general. But if anyone could send photos, that'd be great.
Okay, Micah, would you lead us in a closing song or something? You're still here. I thought maybe you were going to get off, but you're still here, so we might as well make use of your talent.
I'm honored to both have been here and to be able to help you hold this space. And my memories of Natalie are brief and small, of encounters at Chizakamuna before I even knew Razel. And then when Razel and I would come and do concerts together in Knoxville and having little side conversations with her about what we were doing. It was a gracious, wonderful, loving person. And in all the times I visited Knoxville and my in-laws, it was always special to get a chance to sense the other side of Razel's family across the street. So to all the Robinsons, my heart goes out to you, to Razel and your family, everybody, all your mourning. We want to say, may Nechama Leah's soul go in peace to the angels. And may the angels be with us and be with you through this week, through this month, through this time. So we say, Tseitchem leshalom. May you sing with me if you feel so compelled. Tseitchem leshalom, malachei shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu. Blessings on you all.
Thank you all. So everybody has permission to leave. I'll hang around here because got nowhere to go. So if anybody wants to stay on and tell another story, I know my brothers have to go to bed early.
I have this friend, Randy Robinson, and I always wondered how she got to be the woman she is. She's like the most outrageous woman I know in Jewish Renewal. She writes songs, she does tarot cards, she does unbelievably out there things.
Yeah, but that's not my mother at all.
And she has a source. And the source is, just like her mother never copied anybody, neither does Razel. That's a famous Hasidic story I just said for you, sweetheart. Your mom was nobody's duplicate, and you ain't either. And I love the connection between you two. And I'm sorry I didn't know your mother, because we would have partied, man.
It's
Sorry.
true. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Razel?
Yes. Who's
It's
that?
Sheila. It's Sheila.
Sheila. Yes, cousin Sheila.
I don't know much about your mom's early life, where she grew up and how she got to Knoxville to meet my cousin Mitchell and get married and become such a mainstay in the community.
AJ, you want to take that one?
He may have gone to bed.
I'm still here.
Okay.
So I think last night I tried to give a little background. I'll be real quick. She was born in Bristol, Virginia, grew up in Atlanta. Her father was in the shoe business, Jaime Levison, and he also had a brother, and they eventually ended up back in Knoxville, where my mother's mother was from. But my mother spent her formative years in Atlanta, made it back to Knoxville, and they opened a women's clothing store called the Sterling House, which was a famous spot for many years. And then Gilbert took it over and ran it for a while. And she was fixed up in Knoxville to my father when he came back from the war, and they got married in 1951. So everything, Jarvin really is the best person to talk about everything before 53. Randy was born in 53, I was born in 55. But they were like typical Southern Jews at the time. You know, they moved, a lot of people migrated between Atlanta, Chattanooga, Nashville, Knoxville, and they were all, most of their ancestors were peddlers who made it down to the South and moved around the South trying to make a living. And my father's father was one of 5 brothers who made it to Knoxville. And my mother's father was, is Jarvin still on? I think, Randy, well, there was Jaime, there was Morris, there was a sister, no, there was Lewis, no.
Frida, right. So, so that connection between, Jarvin never made it to Knoxville. He grew up in Atlanta and stayed here, went to Emory. And so, but Gilbert did. Gilbert and my mom ended up in Knoxville. So that's the Cliff Note version.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a more detailed version, but you got to get it from Jarvin. We took a walk, for those of you who were watching the funeral, you can walk through the cemetery in Knoxville, and it's like for many families, it's it's an old cemetery, and the Robinsons and the Levinsons and many other families go way back to, on my mom's side, 1880 something, I think.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So you can see all, and someone made the comment, Randy may have made the comment, that she knew a lot of people in the cemetery, more than she knew outside the cemetery. It's true for other people on this here as well at some point. But there's a lot of Robinsons in there. There's a lot of Millens in there. There's a lot of Levisons. There's a lot of families mixed together.
AJ, I do remember somebody at the Hebrew Academy once asked me if you were Jewish or did you convert, because they never heard of Robinson being a Jewish name. And I said, well, actually, his grandfather was a rabbi. So
right. So
I'm sure it was Rabinowitz.
Yeah, I don't think we have many Atlantans left on here, but my grandfather was a rabbi, but he was an educator before that. And when he came to Knoxville, he actually came down to Atlanta in like 1916, 17 and educated Rabbi Geffen's children here. If you know Rabbi Geffen, who had started Cherith Israel. So
Right.
yeah, he got around as an educator as well.
Wow.
So.
And
Wow.
we were just in Mom's house. I just found his journal from 1917. I would love to know somebody who could translate cursive Yiddish for a journal from 1917. If you have any leads, post it in the chat.
You know what? Who translated that thing from my grandfather? I have to think. The rabbi.
I remember when I came to practice here.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Very well.
Talking about when your father came back from the army, he came to visit us in New York. I guess he must have landed in New York on his way home. I think I was about, I don't know, 3 or 5. My mother tells me that I sat with my mouth opened and looked at him the entire time he was at our house. And that any time after that she needed me to do something, she would bring his picture over and show it to me. And I would perform for the picture of your father. He was the most handsome guy.
Hey,
Fabulous, fabulous person.
nothing like a man in a uniform.
Yeah. And he was young. I mean, he was very young when he was in the army.
So I'll tell you a funny story that those of you who've had older parents and maybe in assisted living or nursing homes, during COVID, about 6-8 months ago, they decided to, in Georgia, we've struggled as many places have, but here they couldn't keep some of the assisted living places clean enough, and so they had this idea that they would send in the National Guard to our facility. And where Mom was, there were a number of people who were, cognitively challenged, let's just say. And so they decided to send them to come at night, which was a good idea because they were worried that if they came during the day, that they would be confused that all of a sudden we were seeing all these guys in uniforms and they get too excited. So they actually did come at night because they wouldn't get everybody too excited about guys showing up in the uniforms during the day. So anyway, that was a story they told it one afternoon out there, but they did show up.
And what did they do? Did they clean
They
the
just
place?
clean, they disinfected everything, every time that was just part of the routine here in Georgia. I think I don't know if there's anybody left here that's on from Georgia, but we don't have the greatest public health system in the country.
The other really interesting thing about my mother ending up in the Orchard assisted living is that she dated a guy before she met my father for 7 years, on and off and on and off. She'd go to New York, she'd come back and date him. She'd come back and date him. She'd go, she would leave town, come back and date him. And she gets to this assisted living in the Orchard. And one day he's there in the lobby.
Oh my God.
He ended up in the same place in Atlanta.
Oh my goodness.
And they were buddies. They used to, but before COVID shut them down, they'd go up for happy hour.
Oh.
So.
Well,
Anyway.
that's amazing. Well, I certainly loved both your parents, and your mother was special. She would go, somebody said it already, that she would just go and do anything you wanted to. I mean, we met AJ's family at the Diplomat several years ago, and Mom was there, and the guys went off to play golf. Razel, you were there. And Barry went with AJ to play golf, and your mother wanted to go shopping. I think she was looking for a mop and a pail. And so she's in Hallandale and we went to some hardware store. She said, I can never find this. And so we bought it. She took it back to the hotel, and I imagine she took it back to her house, but she just wanted to get it done. And we walked a very long distance, and she was right with it the whole time. And again, I was amazed. Because she was already past 90 at the time. So.
Okay, I think I'm gonna shut us down here for tonight because we should pace ourselves. We have many more
Yes.
nights to get through and beyond. So I just want to say thanks everybody for being here with us. Even if if you don't say anything, we know you're there to support us. There's a lot of love in this room, and we're gonna need it because my mother leaves a hole in our hearts and in the world. So, yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
We wish you peace and strength.
Thank you.
That time, I'm sorry.
Randy, you
Yeah.
did a wonderful job at
Well,
the
you
funeral.
Yes.
It was perfect.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Love you all.
Okay.
Good night. Love you. Rosarina, I see you've been here a couple of nights already.
Love you, honey.
Okay. Thank you. Mendel, good to see you too. Tina, good to see you too.
You too.
Good night, everybody. Larry, thank you. Recognize you without the mask. Mendel, where's that book? Wait, you're muted, Mendel. If you're answering me, you're muted, so I can't tell you. You gotta tell me where
Tomorrow
you're...
it goes to the publisher. Can you hear?
Yeah, now I can hear.
Okay, good. Tomorrow it goes to the publisher, actually, and it will be out in 5 months. So thank you for asking.
Exciting.
Have a big meeting tomorrow, but thank you. Love with No Tomorrow is a name.
That's a great name.
Thank you. Well, Michael
Good.
Berenbaum, the founding director of the Holocaust Museum in Washington, wrote my foreword, and he gave me suggestion of the title. So thank you. Very honored. My parents' story is there. 27 others. Thank
Oh, I
you.
can't.
And I got to know your mother. I never met her. And I really feel she has a place in my heart. And I see so much of what I heard in you, Razel. And you know, we did a whole Isabella Friedman today. I just got off of that for 3 days. Yeah. Yeah, we did a virtual camp with 100 people and more. And it was very successful. And I want to be here tonight. So
Thank you.
you take care, darling.
I'm glad you didn't ask me to teach now, but
Good. That's
no, I
correct.
will in the future.
Randy's husband. Yes,
Do you remember Jamie? He did the scarves. Jamie, you were there when he did scar. Oh, I hadn't seen him in 7 years. He came on today to say hello.
David Bailoff, are you there behind this iPad somewhere?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Turn your view on. I'll say hello to you too.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Saying hello.
Can you?
Say hello to my brothers when you're in the room. You got a good story that you can come on one night and tell
Well,
us?
I had some good stories, but AJ and Pace need to be on.
Okay, yeah, all right. So we'll hear for the next few nights. You got to come on.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about how your mom and my mom got together and made AJ and I take dancing lessons.
Save that story.
we didn't want to go. We didn't want to go. I think my dad's still on, but we didn't want to go. And I think one time we just danced ourselves right out of the building. It was it was right down there below the Kenwood where my grandmother and Sylvia lived, and
Yes.
it was pretty funny. And I think one time your cousin was up here and your
Where-
mom was here, and we went
Where
down
are
on Kent Street and she bought some shoes, and I was with her when we went shopping, but she didn't take them back.
You didn't take him back?
No, but I've just listened to all these stories. I think my dad's still on, but we just had some great times, and I just remember. Wait a minute, that's my dad calling me. You should be honored that my dad was able to Zoom in tonight.
Well, good. If you guys let me know if you're coming, I'll ask for you earlier in the evening.
Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow night, but your mom really took us Campbell County rednecks in, and because the country Jews always sat in the back, and because of these relationships, we moved up to closer up to the front rows in the synagogue. So
you got to say that tomorrow night.
all right, but I'll be on tomorrow night.
Okay, where are you?
And my sister's been on too.
Yes, I've seen her too. Are you in DC? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Alexandria.
In Alexandria. Okay.
If you ever come down this way, you ought to let me know.
Well, did you come to my services one year?
Yeah, Scott Dreyer and I came to one of your services. It was hard to find it, but we found it. So yes, Scott and I drove over.
That's right. I will keep that in mind.
Okay.
I don't, who knows where I'm going with COVID, but you never know.
Yeah, I know.
My brothers would like to hear your voice though.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. And Joyce, you're there too? Joyce? She's there too.
Grace, did you get my text message?
Did I get a text message from you, Dina? Hey, Joyce.
You, and I want to know if it's.
I did not get a text message.
RA. Okay, let me tell you the number I have. Can you just tell me if it's what's wrong? Okay, I got it. Okay, let's see. Randy did not get my text message. Let's see what I got for you, Razel. Oh, Randy. I don't know how I have you. Oh, there you are. Raphael. I'll put you in as Raphael. Raphael, just like I said. Okay, 215-237-2955.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it. That's my number.
It said it was delivered. It says Rabbi Randy, Razel, Pace, and AJ.
On a phone message?
Yes, ma'am. It says it was delivered on the.
What's your phone number?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What's your phone number, Dina?
904
904
327
Yeah.
6874.
Okay.
Have you talked to Pam? Was she there on last night? I didn't realize it was last night too.
It came out late. The announcement came out late.
Okay, because she was a little uncomfortable. She didn't know what to do at a Shiva. I said, just show up.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, just get her to show up. Dina, just get her to show up, okay?
I'm trying. I'll try again tomorrow. Hello, Dina. I got it. So I don't know how to resend what I wrote to you all. Let's see.
I got it. I got it.
You got it?
Friday. You sent it
Yes.
Friday?
12:13 p.m.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay, Razel. I hope you have a good night's sleep, and
Thank you.
it's unsettling. And but you can always talk to your mother.
Oh, I'm talking to her all the time.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Good night.
I want to just say hello to Joyce here for a second.
Yes.
Joyce, you're there? Hi, Joyce. You got to unmute.
Can you send me Asher's phone number?
Got to unmute, Joyce.
Am I on now?
Yeah, we got you.
Can you tell me how Faye is?
Faye is in an assisted living here in Atlanta, and she's fine. She doesn't have COVID, but they keep opening the doors and closing the doors, and letting them in or letting her out, and then putting her back in and on lockdown. It's awful. And Lori's here, and Richard's, here. And she's, mentally, she's not all there. If you call her, she will be so glad to hear from you.
I
And
have.
then
I
you
have.
have called, and
So
then when you hang up, she will call you again because she'll see your number in her phone and she won't remember that you called her. So she'll call you again and have the same conversation.
Okay.
So it kind of goes like that.
So she's doing reasonably okay.
Reasonably okay. Yeah, reasonably okay. But she will answer. How are you doing?
We're good. Living in California is, so different from Knoxville, but my girls are here. We're good.
Okay.
And, I'm pretty confined because Harold is in a wheelchair and all that kind of stuff. But we're good. But I'll have to say that you and your family are just wonderful to be around. I mean, Eli is just adorable. You have just I couldn't even get over him last night. I love the way he was so much. And you are just, you have turned into such an amazing young woman. I hope Simcha's listening, because I love every time he comes on and talks about how in beautiful ways about you and your family. And I have to echo the way he says that you are an amazing woman. And I appreciate so much the way you've pulled this together, the way you did Marilyn's service. It's such a service to all of us. I guess I ought to start calling you Razel instead of Randy, because I think you have grown into that name.
Don't worry about it. There's only a few people around that still call me Randy. It's okay. It reminds me that I'm young.
And the rabbi, now the rabbi tonight is somebody's son from Knoxville.
Is a friend. The rabbi tonight married Rachel Becker.
I thought that's who that must be.
Yeah. So he's Micah Becker Klein.
Okay.
And he went to rabbinical school with me and was in my singing group.
Gosh, he's
So
got a fabulous voice.
the people that are leading the services were part of my singing group for a number of years. And so I figured they could hold this.
Well, both nights have been, both leaders have just been wonderful to have. Wonderful. So appreciate. Zoom has been wonderful for me. Living in California, Zoom has been wonderful for me.
Yeah. No. It's been wonderful for these. Unfortunately, I've had to lead a lot of Shiva minions, and I'm struggling here to find the balance to not be leading it and be the mourner, right? But I've had to lead a lot of them this year. It's just what we've had to do.
How did you get to Florida? Are you at the condo?
We flew today. We left Knoxville this morning.
Felt like you could do that safely, no doubt.
Well, there weren't anybody on the plane really.
Good.
I'm in the airports. I mean, I'm going to get a test in a couple of days, but I think I'm fine. If I had a test Thursday, I didn't have COVID. And if I didn't get it from my mother, I don't think I'm going to get it on an airplane. If I didn't get it taken care of Simcha.
Were you able to go into the nursing home and be with her?
I had 3 days with her, holding her hand, singing to her, and being with her.
So glad to hear that. I did not know that. I didn't think that.
I think that's why I'm in better shape than my brothers at the moment. They were long distance. They couldn't see her. They couldn't say goodbye, really. They didn't know how to say goodbye. And I was with her. There's something called an Amazon Echo. It's like a little video thing that you put in a room. It's like having a baby monitor that you can, see what's going on in the crib. So I had one of those set up. So I was with her during the days, and then I was watching her all night. And I was with her till 3 a.m. on Wednesday night, and just breathing with her and staying in the room and talking to her and singing to her. And a nurse came in, all dressed up in plastic, and held her hand, and I said, I guess I can go to sleep now because somebody's with her. So I went to sleep, and then she died an hour later. So she probably couldn't go while I was there. She needed somebody else, but somebody was with her. I felt good about that.
That makes sense.
And
She
the
couldn't
next
come while you were
3
there.
hours later, Rhonda comes knocking on the door and banging on my window to wake me up, to tell me. And Simcha had sent Rhonda because I was, I'd just gone to sleep. So that was Thursday. I had to get out of AJ's house because he didn't want me to be there. They were coming back, and I'd been exposed to COVID. So I had to get out of there, go to check the hotel, take the car to the airport, lead a program on New Year's Eve for 200 people on Zoom. That's what I've been doing, these Zoom salons, and then write the eulogy after that, and then drive to Knoxville after the next morning. I'm pretty tired.
You must be, but I am thrilled to hear that you were with your mother. I did not know that.
Yes.
I'm so happy for you and for Natalie.
Yeah, definitely. It gave the whole thing closure.
So they were able to keep her comfortable even with COVID?
She did not complain, and she did not exhibit any pain. So they didn't even give her morphine.
They did? They did?
No.
No?
They did not. No.
Wow.
She just breathed herself out. She's tough. My mother's tough.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Maybe you'll get on and tell a story about, planning a reunion or something, or I don't know. You gotta have something in there.
The ones that we did, you mean?
Yeah.
I have a little story about that. Now that I remember, I can tell.
Good. Tell us a story.
The story was actually that I wanted to have it downtown, and your mom wanted to have it out there close to the lake in some hotel, and I have to remember. But it turned out it was a great reunion. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, it was a great reunion.
It was a great reunion. Yeah. Randy, you're amazing. Thanks for the chat. I love you.
Oh, love you too. Your girls are good? Your girls are good?
It's just wonderful to have you on there with her. Do you know? I went to, my girls are good. Thank you. I'm pretty sure that I went to a conference in New York for the Dalai Lama, and I think you were there.
Who?
You just written a book and talked about it. I'm talking about, is that possible?
Are you talking to Simba?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Simply, can you hear?
I'm here.
Wait, you come over here for, wait a second. Come over here, and Joyce has got a question or a
Hey,
story.
Joyce, I saw you. No, it was a New York Open, the Art of Dying at New York Open Center.
Yes, and you were there how long ago was that?
Yeah.
You had just barely written your book or something then?
Well, they've been doing it since 1995, and I've been doing it every year. So.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. They still do that conference?
Well, they haven't done it in a couple of years, partially because of, COVID, because of New York real estate costs of hotels. But they're doing a virtual Art of Dying this spring, or starting now. They do a training program now.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I remember. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember meeting you there.
It was probably for you the first year you were there. I don't know.
Okay, well, I think that was 95.
About 95. Yeah, and I just went that one year. I thought that happened. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Where are you now?
I'm in California, Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
3 daughters that live in California. One lives in Laguna Beach, so we haven't seen her because of COVID, even though it's not that far. It's too complicated for them to keep themselves safe.
Well, Santa Monica must be a great place to be.
It's beautiful here. We're in a little house that we like, and we're lucky to be in a house because we have a backyard where our daughters and family can come and meet outside, and everybody wears masks. It's just a crazy because around here it is so scary.
Yeah,
it is
right,
so
right.
scary where we are. Really
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
Yeah,
Anyway.
what's going on in California? I mean, Tennessee is also rampant, but Tennessee you
Everywhere's
expect, but California.
I live to tell about it. Yigdal and I had COVID, and we both lived to tell about it.
Yigdal had it?
Yigdal had it. He was mostly symptom free, though he was visiting friends in Chicago, and the poor kid was in quarantine for 3 weeks in Chicago with nowhere to go.
Oh God. And you had it also?
I had it in early October, right through till early November is when I got out of quarantine.
And were you sick?
Well, I didn't end up in a hospital, thank God, and I didn't have a fever, but I mean there were times when I could be coughing for an hour at a time. I mean and it was brutal. I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
No, it's really scary.
I don't have any apparent residue, so that's the good news.
That's beautiful news. Randy, I bet you're protected somehow. You've been around us so much.
No, but
That's true.
I got the antibodies, but I don't know
Oh,
about
that's
you.
true.
All
I
right.
just keep asking my angels to protect me. If you
Well,
want.
you haven't had any.
I haven't any symptoms.
Were you with your son and your husband when they were sick at all?
Well, I was lucky because Yigdal got trapped in Chicago, which meant that I didn't have to take care of 2 of them. So, and Simcha was in the house up in his room.
And she
I wouldn't let him out. I'd bring him food. I'd come up and do some acupressure, and I wouldn't let him out.
And I continue to see all my clients.
Right. So he had people to talk to.
I have I work off of an iPad, so I continue to see my clients, and I would mute myself when I would go into a coughing spell, and they were mostly just talking all the time.
That is amazing.
Right.
Well, stay well, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Okay.
Thank you.
And where are you in Florida?
Hey, Dina.
Hey, where are you?
I want you to know that Allison just got on and said to me, I would never have recognized her. We were just thrilled to see you.
Oh, thank you. It's great to see you too.
Dina, you look beautiful.
Oh, you are beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I don't think people look good on Zoom, but you must be amazing because you do.
Well, I'll tell you, when my husband and I first got married, the first year we were married, he said, I want you to drive. It was the nighttime. And he always said, oh, you're so pretty. You're so pretty. And he was driving. And he said, you need to take over. So we pulled over. I was driving, and he went to the eye doctor, and it turns out he had an eye disease. And I said, you see, you said I was so pretty and you couldn't even see me. So
no, I think he could see you.
Thank God, thank God. So everybody should be well and give my best to your girls, Mrs. Diffler. I'll call you Mrs. Diffler because that's what I'm used to.
I know. Harold
Miss-
remembers your mother. He was fond of your mother, Dina. Good night.
Randy, you still there? Where are you in Florida?